Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Disney Plus Project. So, Anna's not with me this time because the show that we watched this week was going to be Hostel Planet, and I will kind of get into why that is the one that I ended up watching, and I'll kind of get into why Anna is not with me as we go along here. So, before I get into anything, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you enjoy the video, make sure you give us a like and a comment down below and let us know how we're doing. So, Hostel Planet is actually a newer series. I realize it's from last year. It's from 2019, and it is a very intense show. Like, it is just like a standard nature show, but it is very intense. And the reason that Anna is not here with me is because she ended up not being able to watch it. She watched 5 or 10 minutes of the beginning of that first episode and had to turn it off. And so the thing about Anna is she does not like things where animals die. She will not watch Lion King. She will not watch Bambi. Any movie or show where an animal dies, she will not watch. She refuses to watch it. And at the very beginning of towards the very beginning of this, the episode of Hostel Planet, there was a type of goose, I don't remember where it was, but there was a type of goose that lays its eggs on this cliff, it's one of the areas that it lays its eggs anyway, on this cliff, and there was 3 little hatchlings, and because of how early the spring had started, and has been starting because of the climate change and everything, the geese were then going to have to go more quickly down to try and get food before the chicks starved to death, because the chicks wouldn't be able to fly. And so this means that the chicks have to jump off of this cliff and figure out how to essentially keep themselves from falling to their death, essentially. And Anna watched as the first one jumped off the cliff and then landed, and she just about stopped watching it at that point because you thought that chick was dead, and then it got back up and she kept watching for a little bit. But then a predator bird, I don't remember what kind it was, a predator bird came over and was trying to get at this chick, and with the mama goose protecting it. But then the mama goose tried to charge the other bird to try to scare it off, and the other bird went around and grabbed the chick and took off. So that chick was then going to be dead. And at that point, Anna stopped watching. And actually, I got to the same point, and I texted her, and I said, okay, you probably shouldn't watch this. Because I knew that would not be good for her. She would get very upset about that. And she did. So that's why you only get me. But that's kind of how most of that show, I think I watched all but like 5 minutes of it while I was on lunch today. And it is very, very intense. It gets, and I mean, that's just kind of how nature is. And in this show, it's called Hostel Planet for a reason. And I thought it was just because it was talking about like how hostile the planet can be. But it's actually named that because what they are showing is the most hostile places on the planet. And so, and not in terms of like weather or anything, but just like in terms of the animals that are there and how they have to interact with other animals or with nature itself. Like, it's the most hostile and difficult places to live in, and most difficult species to be and stuff like that. And so it gets very intense and very dark. And so it's one of those shows that it's very interesting and very informational, and it's very fascinating. But it is definitely not something that you want to watch with, especially little kids, but really with anybody of any age who has a great attachment to animals. You don't want to watch it with them. I would not recommend it for them. If you're somebody like me and you can handle stuff like that, then it is a very fascinating show. It is very well done. It's narrated by Bear Grylls. And so it kind of confused me at first, because I was like, am I watching Man vs. Wild? This is really weird. But yeah, he's the one that narrates it, and he does a very good job. And it is, like I said, it is very informational. And so it is teaching you stuff that actually is really interesting. But you first have to get past the fact that it is that intense. And I think that that level of intensity is probably the reason that I won't end up watching the rest of it. Because while I find it fascinating, I can't fully get past how intense and dark it is. And it's not that I'm in denial about, the world being some like glamorous rainbow and unicorn place. I'm not. But I don't want to intentionally subject myself to that. So this show is probably the first one from me in our, I think is the first one from me in our Disney Plus project that the second one, I guess, with 101 Dalmatian Street, that I really didn't necessarily like as much, just because, for that reason. I think it was just a little too much for me. And for many other people, it would be a little too much. So, but yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Hostile Planet. So next week, I'll have to get with Anna and see what we want to do for next week. So stay tuned, because next week will be a little bit of a surprise. We'll kind of go, we might watch Hamilton, that just came out. We might watch Artemis Fowl. It could be anything at this point. So thank you all for joining me this week, and I hope to see you all here again next week. And as always, don't forget to thank the Phoenicians.